Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I'm bringing to you all is a video on how you can maximize the upcoming double refining event here in New World, and basically give you guys a few little handy tips for how you can make the most of this event, because as you will well be aware, the gathering event is still ongoing at the time of recording this video, but probably by the time most of you see this upload, it will have just finished, and the next event that we can see from June 20th to June 23rd is going to be that refining double XP event. Now, for most players, you already have a lot of these maxed out, especially if you've been going for things like your daily crafts, but for other players, you might not have done, or again, it could be second characters, or it could just be the odd one, maybe like woodworking. I know a lot of you guys said in the comments of previous videos I've done on this that woodworking is kind of one that's lagging behind with stone cutting. Stone cutting, generally people have got up to about 150 for the keys, and then kind of fell off with that because it does become quite time consuming. So what I'm going to do is give you guys a few tips on these. Now, the first thing is going to be reagent converters. Yes, these are not necessarily the best thing you can do in the world, and they are going to pretty much lose you money almost every time if you are using these to try and, you know, convert some of the less good stuff into the better stuff. Although on some servers, some of you have told me in the comments that you are making money off this, so more power to you if that is the case. However, as a general rule, these do lose you money on the tax, but they can also be really good. You can see on this character here, I haven't leveled up all the way to the maximum that I could be. But, so they're going to be on the faction shop. This is the tier 4 faction shop for the masterwork one, which makes stuff into a tier 5 converter or converts tier 5 to a different tier 5. These can be really good if you're going to need to use them yourself in this. If you're literally converting it to use yourself, then it's probably going to be worthwhile, particularly if you've got like 1,000 solvent and you're not using solvent in this event. Don't forget to use these. These are going to be really good. Bear in mind, you do need to level up to level 4 on the faction rank that you are before this event up comes, so that you can get the tier 5 swap over. But of course, the other tier ones are at the lower tiers of the shop. But probably the masterwork one is going to be what most of you are going to want to use. So if you're on a fresh account like myself here, you're definitely going to want to level that one up in terms of faction standing before we jump into this event fully. Now, the next thing that I wanted to talk about here is if you have raw materials from previous events, such as if I go into here, you guys will be able to see I can make some asmodium. I've got my orichalcum ingots, but I don't actually have any of the star metal ingots I needed here, so I'd have to go and get star metal ore. Well, actually, I've got the star metal ore. It's the steel that I need, so I need to go back to steel, which requires iron and iron ingots. So that would be where I'd go to start refining if I needed to get my smelting level up. However, for me, like I said at the start of this video, woodworking, stone cutting are the two that I'm going to be going for here. These are going to be crucial to get myself up to 200 in, particularly the woodworking, so I can start to make the glittering ebony rather than having to shell out to buy that every single time. Now, this is probably going to be pretty common across the board that woodworking and stone cutting are the least popularly leveled up. Most of you will probably have stone cutting to a relatively high level like myself, but not necessarily all the way to 200. But what I was going to say on this is I would not recommend going out and buying the resources. If you can have the time to gather them, it's probably going to be cheaper, as people are going to be aware of the event and start to put the prices up, even on things like your regular stone, your stone blocks, but also the reagents as well. Now, like I said, a lot of people do already have some max refining stuff, like I have smelting, weaving, and leatherworking here already at the max level, and this double XP will not be applying to things that you already have at level 200 or above. So that being said, this boom that I'm talking about there with some of the prices, it's not going to be as big as some players are expecting, I don't think, because a lot of players, like I say, already have maximum refinement level in at least a couple of things, but there may be some gaps in the market where you need to keep your eye out for, because you may be able to sell some stuff for a lot more money there. Now, however, if you do want to make some good money from this, like I said, woodworking and stone cutting are my two that I don't have maxed out, and I would imagine that most players are on a similar level. So what do you want to do here? Well, you want to look at the reagent used, which is of course sandpaper for both of these, and that means that sandpaper is probably going to go up in price regardless of the tier. All of these tiers are probably going to jump up at least just for the event time, if not more than that. All reagents will probably rise a little bit, but sandpaper is probably going to be a very finite one. I wouldn't recommend buying it now and stockpiling it. A lot of players did that last time with events, and it's just not always worth it because I don't think it's going to be a huge buff. But if you do end up having excess that you're not using, the price may rise a little bit, so it might be a good time to sell it. Or if you already have maximum and you know you can get some more in your elite runs later in the week, then it may be worth selling these again, because of course it is probably going to go up just that little bit, which means you can maximize your bang for your buck there. Now with stone cutting, it is worth noting that you can do also the gem cutting, and this requires solvent, so a lot of you will have a lot of excess solvent like myself. This could be a good time if you're going to be leveling up for yourself to get some of it used, or again maybe sell it for a little bit more than rock bottom that it has been at on most servers for a couple of weeks here now at least. So that could be another good way to do it, as well as obviously using the converters that I talked about before. Now with the woodworking, as you guys can see, if you do want to get yourself the ironwood planks, you need obviously the weirdwood and the ironwood, but again we're looking at the sandpaper reagent. Could be a really good idea to go and get yourself some raw ironwood and some raw weirdwood, so that people can, of course, buy those materials from you. Again, lumber is probably going to be an underrated thing in this if you do want to do some gathering ahead of the event to try and make some money. Chances are players are going to be less inclined to go out and gather greenwood and then edgewood and timber and turn that into the lumber. So again, if you've got a lot of sandpaper like myself stockpiled up, this could be a really good way to make a bit of money, because the chances are people are not going to have time, or they're going to be too lazy and buy a decent amount of this up to get up to the weirdwood and then eventually the ironwood planks. Now with this, of course, you can also just go for making the weirdwood plants if you do want to make some XP yourself, and that could be a really good way, because I think a lot of people are just going to smash out the ironwood planks as quickly as possible. So raw ironwood, weirdwood planks, lumber, and of course the sandpaper there are your best chances. Again, do not buy these, just go out and gather them if you have the time. If not, probably don't worry about it. You're not going to see a huge rise in price, I wouldn't imagine, on most servers, but it's going to be a nice little bump if you have gathered it and you're wanting to sell it anyway. It should be a nice one to get behind. So finally, just to finish off this video then, just a quick another reminder, it doesn't count to any of the ones that you already have level 200. So if you are someone that has 200 smelting, it may be a good opportunity to sell some of the raw resources if you want to do gathering for the week instead. To sell some of those, you might get better prices, but overall I wouldn't buy anything, and I would make sure that you just get any of those remaining ones that you haven't got to 200, get yourself up there, get them to 200, get them sorted, because who knows what we're going to be getting in future updates. Hopefully something to increase these trade skills after these amazing events, because that would be really fun indeed. But that is going to be it for today's video, guys. I'd like to thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do drop me a subscribe and a like down below, as both of those things really do help to support me and my content here on YouTube, so I'd really appreciate it. And other than that, I will catch you guys again very shortly on a brand new upload. So take care and peace.